He willingly got in the car because they moved the location. Hi guys, welcome. I'm Emily the Fine Art Medium. I am a psychic medium who specializes in the paranormal. I'm an astral traveler and artist, and I am one of the hosts of the Lights of Midnight podcast. Whoop whoop. So today's video, if you didn't see my social posts, I channeled Jimmy Hoffa. And you might ask, what brought you to do that? Well, the funny thing is, I think it was like yesterday, I wanted to look at mysteries, right? To see what to put on my channel for future videos, right? And I was so drawn to Jimmy Hoffa, it wasn't even funny, right? So, that is why. But first, okay, so I just want to do a disclaimer here. Everything here is all alleged, for entertainment purposes only, right? Okay. Cool. Now that we got that out of the way. So, while doing this case, the only thing I knew about Jimmy Hoffa was that he went missing and people thought the mob or the mafia were pretty much the ones who made him disappear, right? That's all I knew. I also knew about the jokes where people said he's buried under, Giant Stadium. But as far as that, that's all I knew. So when I went into channeling, right, I didn't want to know anything about this person because I didn't want, my subconscious to throw in information that I had previously read. Because you know how it is, like, you'll read something, right, and then you'll forget about it, and, years later or weeks or days later, like your subconscious kind of remembers even though you don't. I didn't want that to happen, and I didn't want to influence my channeling. So that is why I went into this quote unquote blind in some way, right? So I'm going to go through my channeling notes, right? And then I will go through pretty much information about him. But like I said, when I did the channeling, I knew nothing about him other than, might have been taken by the mob and murdered and might be under Giant Stadium. But anyway, so I'm going to get started here. But if I'm looking up and down, it's because I have notes. Because when I was channeling yesterday, I took like 2 hours and some change and channeled information, and I wrote down as much as I can. I even drew little pictures, right? It's hard to see in this lighting here because I have it dark in my room so you can see the lights behind me, but look at all these notes. There's a lot. But anyway, yeah, I wrote all this down. And I even had some dreams last night when I was trying to sleep. Or I should say this morning, because I didn't go to bed till like 6 a.m. But anyway, so now the first thing I got, right? So when I was channeling this information, I was so dead tired because I had pulled an all-nighter working on podcast stuff. But as I'm like going back and forth into sleep, thinking about Jimmy Hoffa and what I asked, I was like, okay, spirit guides, can you please give me some information? And somehow I actually ended up meeting Jimmy Hoffa. I mean, still not quite sure if that's actually who I met on the astral realm. I'm not going to say I officially met him because, people will say I'm crazy. But I swear to God, I could feel his clothing. I saw what he looked like. And yeah, so I feel like I met him, or it could have just been like me astral projecting to, him back in time, which is possible because time is a construct and blah, 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 blah. Everybody knows this. Okay, anyway. So, yeah. So as I'm going back and forth between, like, dozing off, the first thing I saw was an image of a rusty metal, like, drum or barrel. Like, I don't know. I think it's like an oil drum or something. That was the first thing I saw. Not even kidding, right? I heard loud and clear, kind of clear. I heard Newark or New York. I couldn't tell if they said New York or Newark because of the accent. So, keep that in mind. I heard loud and clear audiently earlier our dinner was canceled, right? And then I heard TV novella or telenovela or something, which was interesting because when I hear that word, I don't think of the Spanish soap operas. For whatever reason, I still think of like General Hospital. I don't fucking know. It's because my mom watches it, right? So when I hear like soap operas or anything related to soap operas, I think of General Hospital, which I think is because some of the main characters run a mob business, right? So it was giving me that impression. I heard the word bacteria. I saw a wooden picket, light brown fence at the edge of a small steep slope. So the best way to describe it is, say this is the slope. This is the slope part where my thumb is, right? So it goes like this, but it's not that like tall or big or whatever. And then up at the top is where the fence is. I don't fucking know, right? I don't know. Just telling you what I saw. I don't want to put anything. So as I relay this information, I'm going to just say what I saw. I'm not going to put any pieces together or assume, because when I do that, I get myself in trouble, right? So I'm just relaying what I saw, heard, and felt, and whatnot. All right. The next thing I saw was a large body of water. It was weird because at first it looked like an ocean, but then it turned into almost a river or a lake. Then I saw like this long door of a vehicle, whether it was like a bus or a truck. I saw a gun that looked like it was chunky where the barrel was, like a sawed-off shotgun, but I don't think it was a sawed-off shotgun. It just was black and it was chunky at the barrel. Yeah. Oh, then I see Jimmy Hoffa sitting in like one of those couch chair things. Like not a lazy boy, but like, like a sofa couch, but like for one person with the cushions and stuff. And he's got one leg crossed over the other as he's reading a newspaper. His cushy chair looks red. He's wearing a white shirt, suspenders, and gray pants, and black leather shoes, or at least the shoes look like leather. And it looked like he was reading a newspaper, and I feel like he had readers on, like reading glasses on to read, but it's not something he typically wore all the time. I don't know, I could be wrong. I also see a cigar and pen in hand. And then I start really dozing off into sleep, and I see a sequence of something going wrong at a barber shop or a place that cuts hair or styles hair, and then the person being mad at the haircut. It's like, that is not what I wanted. I don't know. Then I see an old red car, and the impression it felt like this car was used to transport him, whether dead or alive. I then get an aerial view of a hole with more barrels, and then I see a ladder going into a hole. So it's like a hole and then a ladder that goes in. I drew it, but again, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. See right there, I know it's tiny. That's supposed to be a hole with a ladder in it. Okay. But yeah, I did see an aerial view with more barrels stacked on one another. The ground looked layered on the sides. I don't know what that means. That's just what it looked like. I then hear Hudson River. Doesn't mean he's in the Hudson River. It could mean that he's around, in, or near, right? Head pain. I start getting head pain. I'm clairsentient, so basically I can feel people's pains, emotions, and on top of the head pain, I started to feel grief and sadness, and I felt like I was going to cry, and it came out of nowhere. But I felt head pain, and I felt that this person got shot in the head. Where the pain really felt heavy and throbby was the back of the head, and then my right ear started to burn and throb. I wrote a note, but this note, I'm not sure if it was something my brain started making assumptions or what, but I'll just read it anyway. Not in water, because gases from decomp can make the drum float to surface, and plus the drum can, rust. So take that with the grain of salt. Then I saw eggs in a pan or skillet, and then right after that, I heard wife. So I don't know if maybe she liked to cook him eggs and that was like his favorite breakfast. I don't know. Okay, here's another thing. I was under an overpass, like the ones I drive when I leave Philly. Like, you know how, like, on the outer banks of Philly, there's a lot of these, like, overpasses, and you drive under them, and it's, like, it's just road, but, like, there's nothing else there. But in this case, it looked like it was more dirt than road. So I don't know. But, okay. Another thing I saw a lot. This thing kept going over and over and over and over and over in my head. And I saw it so many times. It was a tunnel. I don't know if the tunnel was in or with water, but water was definitely there. It kind of gave like the impression of like underground train tracks or sewer. It was weird. I just know it was tunnel and there was water in that tunnel. Something to that effect. Also, I wrote the note, barrel head first because his legs kept popping him up, making him too big for the barrel. Yeah. And then I kept seeing this dark concrete. It looked underground, slightly lit like a underground tunnel for cars. Now, let me see. Oh, so then when I was dreaming at night, or this morning when I went to bed, I saw 3 people in the car plus Jimmy. Now, the point of view, it looked like I was sitting in the back seat behind the passenger, right? And I was able to look out the window to my left. So, yeah. But I also saw a warehouse and then bound hands. But here's the drawing of the tunnel down here. I saw a P. There was a P. It looked like a P. I don't know what that goes to. And maybe I'll do some more research around the area I think it's in and see if I can come up with tunnels or something that has, like, writing on it with a P. I don't know. But it was like, the angle I saw was like coming around a bend. And you see that P right as you turn around the bend. Or leaving from going around the bend. Okay. Now, I want to go through these notes again and start giving my assumptions or trying to piece together what I think happened before I get into the notes and stuff of the actual story and what investigators found. All right. So I fully believe he was taken, and I feel like he was transported in that red car because I could see through his eyes from him sitting in that car. I feel like he wasn't killed first and then put in that car. I feel like they either I can't imagine him being abducted in broad daylight. So I feel like he willingly got into that car. And like there was a change of plans. And earlier our dinner was canceled. So either his plans got canceled with the people that he was around or supposed to go see, or that's just him saying, I never made it back home. I never made it to dinner with my wife and kids. Large body of water. I honestly feel like he's either very close or in New Jersey. Hudson River. That kind of flows through like the beginning of New Jersey and into New York. And from the tunnels I was seeing, right, there are a lot of tunnels going from, I believe it's New Jersey into New York. And I think there's an underground one. I don't know if there's one that's like under the water too. I forget. But I know there's a lot of tunnels just from like family vacations going up to my aunt's house in Long Island, right? And having to go through Newark, the Bronx, and all that stuff. Those tunnels are very familiar. So I feel like he was driven to New Jersey. The gun. I think that's the murder weapon. I think they shot him in the back of the head. And that could explain too why I was feeling that heaviness, that throbbing, the ringing in my ear, and the burning. Because it felt like blood coming out of my ear too. I think I forgot to mention that too. The telenovela or whatever you have at the soap opera. To me, that tells me that it was mafia or boss related because, like I said, when I see anything soap opera related, I think of General Hospital because that's the show my mom watches. Hi, Mom, if you're watching this. So, yeah, the one main character or two main characters, whomever, are mobsters, and it just makes me think about that. Now, bacteria. That one has me stumped. I don't know why. When I think of bacteria, I think of like either chemicals or something to that effect. Now, the wooden picket light brown fence at the edge of a small steep slope, I'm not quite sure. Since this happened, I think in 75, right? So, yeah, that's over like 40 years ago, maybe 50. So, I mean, even if I see certain landmarks and stuff, they might not be there now. But yeah, I'm pretty sure he's near a body of water like the Hudson River. I feel like, because that was very clear. Let me see what else. The red car. The door thing that I saw. It was like a long, like a bus door or a truck door. I don't know if I mentioned that. Well, I have it in my notes, but I forget if I said it. I think it's a truck door. But I don't know what that has to do with anything. Let me see what else. I think he was put in a metal barrel or drum thing think that's what they did with his body. It's fucked, bro. It's possible that they put him in something with chemicals in it. That could be where the bacteria came from, or, you know, with decomp and stuff that causes bacteria and whatnot. As for the underpass, either his body is near one. So, okay, I think his body is near, like, an overpass near the Hudson River, probably around New Jersey, like, at the beginning of New Jersey, so, like, Newark, or Jersey City, or near the border of New York. Let me see what else. Like I said, I think he willingly got in the car because I can't see him struggling in broad daylight. People would, like, notice. 3 people in the car. I feel like they're mobsters. Let's see, am I missing anything else? Oh, I think he was put in a hole. I think he's in the ground. I don't think he's in... He could be in water if the hole filled up with water, but I think he's more in the ground. I did see a warehouse. I feel like maybe they took him to a warehouse first, killed him, and then moved the body. And I think that is all I have for notes in my conclusion. So now I'm going to go through, make sure I didn't do anything on the opposite side. I don't think I had, nope, I don't have any notes on the other side. So now I'm going to go through all the material, right? So Jimmy Hoffa. Jimmy Hoffa was a controversial American labor union leader who served as the president of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, IBT, from 1957 until 1971. He was born in Brazil, Indiana in 1913, and he began working as a truck driver. Okay, that makes sense with the door. At the age of 18, he quickly became involved in union activities, and he was elected president of the Detroit local of the IBT in 1937. Hoffa was a charismatic and effective leader, and he quickly rose through the ranks of the IBT. He was elected vice president of the union in 1952, and he became president in 1957. Yes. Under Hoffa's leadership, the IBT grew into one of the most powerful labor unions in the United States. Hoffa was controversial. He was a controversial figure who was accused of corruption and ties to organized crime. He was convicted of jury tampering and conspiracy in 1964, and he served 4 years in prison. He was released from prison in 1971, but he was barred from union activities until 1980. Hoffa disappeared on July 30th, 1975, and his body was never found. There are many theories about what happened to him, but the truth remains a mystery. Hoffa was a complex and controversial figure, but there is no doubt that he was a major figure in American labor history. He was a powerful and effective leader who helped to improve the lives of millions of working people. However, he was also a man who was willing to bend the rules and who was ultimately undone by his own ambition. Hoffa's legacy is still debated today. Some people see him as a hero who fought for the rights of working people, while others see him as a corrupt and ruthless figure. Ultimately, it is up to each individual to decide how they view Jimmy Hoffa. So, yes, July 30th, 1975, he disappears from a restaurant in suburban Detroit. He was scheduled to meet with 2 reputed mobsters, Anthony Provenzano, sorry if I say these names messed up, but Provenzano, and Salvatore Briguglio. No one has ever seen or heard from Hoffa since then. There are many theories about what happened to him. Some people believe that he was murdered by the mob, while others believe he went into hiding. There have been numerous searches for his body, but none have been successful. There are many suspects in Hoffa's disappearance, but the most likely suspects are the leaders of the Detroit mafia. Hoffa had a long history of ties to organized crime, and he had made many enemies in the mafia. In the years leading up to his disappearance, Hoffa had been trying to muscle in on the mafia's gambling and loan sharking operations. This made him a target for the mafia, and it is believed that they ordered his execution. The two most likely suspects in Hoffa's murder are Anthony Provenzano and Salvatore Briguglio. Provenzano was a powerful mafia boss in Detroit, and Briguglio was a hitman who worked for Provenzano. In the days leading up to Hoffa's disappearance, both Provenzano and Briguglio were seen in the Detroit area. They were also seen meeting with Hoffa on the day of his disappearance. Ooh. There's also evidence that the mafia may have used Hoffa's disappearance as a way to send a message to other labor union leaders. In the years leading up to Hoffa's disappearance, the mafia had been losing control of the labor unions. Hoffa was a symbol of the labor union's power, and his disappearance was a way for the mafia to show that they were still in control. The mystery of Jimmy Hoffa's disappearance has never been solved, but the evidence suggests that the mafia was responsible for his murder. The mafia had a motive, they had the means, and they had the opportunity to kill Hoffa. Until the mafia comes forward with the truth about Hoffa's disappearance, his fate will remain a mystery. Another possible suspect in Hoffa's disappearance is the government. Hoffa had been investigated by the FBI for years, and he was eventually convicted of jury tampering and conspiracy. He served 4 years in prison, in 1971, and he was determined to get back into the Teamsters Union, and he began to make enemies in the government. It is possible that the government had Hoffa killed in order to prevent him from regaining control of the union. Honestly, I don't think that is not very plausible in this, I believe. But anyway, he was scheduled to meet with two reputed mobsters, Anthony Provenzano and Salvatore Briguglio, at the Matches Red Fox restaurant in Bloomfield Township, Michigan. Hoffa never arrived at the meeting, allegedly, and his body was never found. But so here's a little timeline, not very much, but here's a timeline. In the minutes after 2 p.m. on July 30th, 1975, former International Brotherhood of Teamster Union, Jimmy Hoffa, impatiently waited outside of the Red Fox restaurant in Bloomfield Township, Michigan. He was there to meet a couple of mafia honchos, Anthony, Tony Jack, Giacalone from Detroit, and New Jersey's Anthony, Tony Provenzano, reportedly with the aim of mending frayed relations with the latter. At 2:15, Hoffa called his wife, Josephine, to complain he was being stood up, adding he would return home by 4 p.m. to grill steaks for dinner. But Hoffa never made it back for dinner, and the following morning, his green Pontiac Grand Ville, was found idle at the Red Fox parking lot. With the filing of a missing person report that evening, the case was formally opened on what would become one of the country's most famous unsolved mysteries. So the FBI launched a massive investigation into his disappearance, but they were never able to find any evidence about his whereabouts. So here are some of the suspects here. We've got Frank Sheeran. So he was a Teamster official and alleged hitman who claimed to have killed Hoffa, but he died in 2003. Charles, aka Chucky O'Brien, was a Teamster official who was with Hoffa on the day of his disappearance. He has denied any involvement in his death. Then you have William Buffalino, was a mafia boss who was close to Hoffa. He died in 1995. We have John Vitale. He was a mafia associate who was with Hoffa on the day of his disappearance. He died in 2005. Then you have John Gotti. He was a powerful mafia boss who was known to have ties to Hoffa. He was one of the men that Hoffa was known to have met within the months leading up to his disappearance. So now we're going to get into mob investigations and then how they kind of reached a dead end. So 3 weeks after the search commenced, the FBI had a lead when police dogs discerned Hoffa's scent in the backseat of a Mercury Marquis Brougham. The car was owned by Joey Giacalone, son of Anthony Giacalone, and had been borrowed by Hoffa's protege Chucky O'Brien, who denied any involvement of the case or in the case. With the convening of a Detroit grand jury in September, a series of Teamster officials and reputed mob associates were called to testify. However, none offered any substantial information, often invoking the Fifth Amendment in lieu of answers. Dude, mobsters aren't gonna talk because they know if they talk, them and their entire families are gonna go kablooey, right? In early 1976, the FBI put out a report of its findings in what was known as the Hoffa's Memo. The list of suspects, including other tough guy names like Vito, Billy Jack, Giacalone, and Salvatore Sally Bugs Briguglio. Unfortunately, although investigators felt they were on the right path, they found no one willing or able to confirm that Hoffa's disappearance directly resulted from mob involvement. In 1982, 7 years after he was last seen outside the Red Fox, Hoffa was declared legally dead. So, a compelling confession emerged from the Irishman, right? As the years progressed, numerous theories surfaced as to where Hoffa's remains could be found. In 1982, a mob hitman named Charles Allen told a congressional committee that the Union bigwig had been dismembered and left in the Florida Everglades. At the end of the decade, another hitman, Donald Tony the Greek Francos, suggested the enduringly popular notion that Hoffa was buried beneath Giant Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Although the deaths of most chief suspects hampered further investigations, the cold case suddenly remained steam in 2001 when new DNA technology revealed that a hair found in the Mercury Marquis Brougham was a match for Hoffa. The matter was referred to the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office in Michigan, which returned the deflating news that there wasn't enough evidence to charge anyone. Plus, they were probably dead anyway, so there's that. 3 years later, another door opened with the release of a book titled I Heard You Paint Houses, an alleged mob phrase used to gauge a person's willingness to kill someone. Written by lawyer Charles Brandt, the book presented an intriguing account of the case by a recently deceased mafia and Hoffa associate named Frank the Irishman Sheeran. According to Sheeran, Hoffa had made people nervous by threatening to expose the behind-the-scenes Teamsters mob dealings that had transpired while he was locked up. Ordered to kill Hoffa by the powerful and secretive Pennsylvania boss Russell Buffalino, Sheeran headed to the Red Fox with O'Brien and Briguglio on the fateful day to tell Hoffa that the meeting spot had been moved. They drove to an empty house in northwest Detroit where Sheeran pumped 2 shots into his once trusted friend. The confession prompted detectives to rip up the floorboards of the home fingered by Sheeran. They uncovered what appeared to be promising blood stains through lab analysis Oh, no. The lab analysis failed to match the samples to Hoffa. So they failed to match the samples. So, yeah. Tips continued to pour in. So, thus began unfulfilling trend in which properties were ransacked in the hopes of finding more clues, if not the actual body of the missing man. A horse farm... Okay. Sorry, I'm kind of reading some of this information for the first time. A horse farm near Milford, a garage in Roseville, an empty lot in Oakland Township, all torn up to reveal nothing. I just got chills because of that picket fence I saw. Oh my god. Okay. This is happening live. Live on camera. Okay. You're probably like, how did you, like, have these notes and not, like, know? Because I went on the sources, and some of these I just copied and pasted, and I'll give all the sources. So I did that purposely because, like I said, I didn't want to know too much in case I started getting more information as I, went on with the video. Okay. Anyway. Okay. In another example of the new evidence that pops up every few years, in 2015, the New York Post reported on a claim that Hoffa had been buried in a 55-gallon drum at a toxic dump site in northeastern New Jersey. Naturally, the source of the info, mob and Teamsters insider Philip Brother Moscato, had died the year before. The area of suspicion is on a Little League diamond on the landfill beneath the General Pulaski Skyway, a 3-mile bridge that arches over a cinematically criminal evocative expanse of industrial wasteland and marshes west of Manhattan. A worker on his deathbed said he buried the body underground in a steel drum. FBI agents, armed with a search warrant, arrived in New Jersey City at a plot of dirt and gravel the size of a Little League diamond below the Pulaski Skyway on October 25th and 26th, 2021. I believe it was 2021, to conduct a site survey, according to the Detroit field office, which has led the investigation into Mr. Hoffa's disappearance in 1975. The steel drum is said to be buried about 15 feet below ground in the shadow of countless millions of drivers who have passed by it. FBI personnel from the Newark and Detroit field offices completed the survey, and the data is currently being analyzed. Special Agent Mara R. Schneider, a spokeswoman, said on Thursday, so this is from an article, right? The formal statement did not mention Mr. Hoffa by name and did not elaborate on a timeline for any potential excavation. The FBI has investigated Hoffa's disappearance for decades, but again, they still haven't been able to solve it or find any other evidence or clues or anything. Anyway, my sources, Wikipedia, love Wikipedia, biography.com/crime/Jimmy Hoffa, disappearance where buried, and then New York Times, so that's the article that was released on 11/18/2021. So, those are my sources. Okay, let's go back to my notes here, because now I'm wondering that, okay, so they mentioned a garage. Wait, where was that? They mentioned a garage and then a horse farm with, so, as for the Giant Stadium one, that one's debunked because, well, Mythbusters did a episode on that, and they went and took radar or sonar or whatever and looked around, and they found nothing. Also, that stadium doesn't exist there anymore, and they looked into that one. He's not there. But I just thought that one was kind of not funny, because, murder ain't funny. But, I just thought it was important enough to say. But, so, I wanted to find, okay, a horse farm near Milford, a garage in Roseville, an empty lot in Oakland Township. I feel like that picket fence is important. Now, it's possible he was taken there on his way to New Jersey, because I'm very confident he's in New Jersey somewhere. But I feel like some of the things I had seen were things that they drove by while he was still alive in that car. Oh, that car that they found his hair in is red. I wrote that. Okay, I got that in my notes. It was a red car. As far as the blood stains in that house, you know, they're mobsters. They probably killed a bunch of fucking people in that house. Now, they were saying something about the landfill beneath the General Pulaski Skyway, a 3-mile bridge that arches over the industrial wasteland. Okay, so not only is there a bridge, so if it's under the bridge, that would explain why I kept feeling like I was under like an overpass or a bridge, right? That would make sense. They keep mentioning the 55-gallon drum and the toxic dump site. Toxic bacteria. I picked up the word bacteria. Just saying. They're mentioning the marshes. Near, is it Manhattan? They're mentioning the marshes. The marshes. Across, okay. Wasteland and marshes west of Manhattan. There's water there. Water is important. That is a landmark to be noted. So a worker on his deathbed said he was buried. They buried him underground in a steel drum. I'm gonna stick with that and say he is buried under the ground, and they didn't go over the entire landfill. Like, how can you? There's no way, and I know they didn't go over that entire landfill, but I have a suspicion that he is either in that underground, in that landfill, near that bridge, near the water, because that is an important point of reference. I am very confident that's where he is located, and it's kind of hard to dig up a landfill, but yeah, I think he's in or around it, in a drum, either filled with chemicals. That's another thing too. So if they need to dig that up, and if there's suspicion of toxic chemicals, they might not dig that up, because, you know, you don't want your workers to get hurt or injured, because that would be bad. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think, did I see it? I don't remember recalling a baseball diamond though. But that doesn't mean anything. Just because I didn't see it doesn't mean it's not possible, because I'm getting a perspective or a point of view. As far as the grief, oh my god, the dinner thing. Earlier, our dinner was canceled. So that could be dinner with his wife, because he went to go to that restaurant in the afternoon, so that would have been a lunch, right? So where I heard earlier our dinner was canceled, that's him referring to the dinner with his wife, because he was going to grill steaks. The wooden picket fence, though, I feel like they drove near a farm, or that was like a point of interest. A warehouse, like I said, I think they took him to a warehouse either to kill him or they at least took the body there. But I saw his hands tied behind his back, so I think that's where they killed him. And it's so stupid that you have all these people allegedly coming forward saying, oh yeah, I did it, because they want the prestige and fame along with it. It's ridiculous. That's why they're having such a hard time to, like, figure out who's telling the truth. But yeah. So I fully believe they met them. He met them at the restaurant. They were late, but they did come. He willingly got in the car because they moved the location, because obviously they probably wanted it to be out of sight from, the public. They either directly took him to the warehouse first, tied his hands. Oh, and I did feel heat on my arm, but I don't know if that was just like my spirit guide touching me or if that meant anything. But he either was taken to a warehouse directly after he got in that car and they took him to the warehouse, but I don't know if the warehouse was in Detroit or if it was in New Jersey first. I don't know where that warehouse is. That's the thing with this. It's kind of hard to say where some of these locations are, especially when you get like an image of a random building. Unfortunately, I didn't see any street signs. That would have been nice. But I did hear Hudson as a point, Hudson River. But so I think he was taken to the warehouse. His hands were bound, and then, like I said, he either that was on the way or when they got there to New Jersey, because mobster people, they kind of want proof that the hit was successful, so it would make sense that they would take him all the way to New Jersey to the boss, or the headquarters, if you will. And then I think they murdered him and stuffed him in a barrel and buried him underground with chemicals, in or around chemicals, near the Hudson or some kind of body of water. Maybe the marshes are from the Hudson, in New Jersey, and it's under a bridge or a bypass. And I think he's in a hole with more barrels stacked on top of one another, or they have done that before and there's just more barrels around that vicinity with human remains. I think they shot him in the back of the head. That was how he died. The back of the head. Yeah. And 3 people took him in that red car. And I feel like they might have put his body in the... I don't know how they would have transported the body in a barrel, because you can't fit that in that car. But also the FBI went through that car, so they probably didn't use that car to transport the body when he was dead. But I think, as for the eggs, I think that's just him saying my wife cooked me eggs for breakfast. That's like one of his favorite meals. And yeah, I'm gonna conclude it there, you guys. Tell me what you think. Do you think I'm onto something? That was a long one, but I'm very confident in this one. I feel very confident in this one. So, yeah. His car, Jimmy Hoffa's car, was left at the parking lot of the restaurant. So, he didn't just drive. He didn't go into hiding. I think they murdered him. And yeah. So, guys, in the comment section down below, give me your questions, thoughts, concerns. What do you think happened? Do you think that he was murdered by the mafia? And do you think I am close to my prediction? I just want to know, what do you guys think? Or if you have your own theories. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys soon. Peace out.